Here, different?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So it's going live.
All right. So here we are at CCA's very first virtual info session for the MFA in Comics program. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Matt Silady. I chair the program here. I teach in the program here. I teach both undergraduate and graduate courses, but my biggest responsibility at CCA is maintaining the MFA in Comics program. Tonight, I'm going to take some time to tell you a little bit about the program. And if anybody has any questions, we'll answer those live, and we'll wave at anybody who stops by. So tonight, we're calling this an info session. We're going to kind of do a deep dive into some of the curriculum, our faculty, kind of what to expect if you want to ever join an MFA in Comics program. So let's start with the concept of low residency. Now, this is really important for our program here at CCA. A lot of times when you apply to grad school, the expectation is that you'll leave your job, move to the school, start a 2-year program, but the MFA in Comics program is a little bit different than that. We give you the opportunity to move here to San Francisco, live here year-round, work with all of our instructors in person during the fall and spring semesters, but a lot of our students will live at home, carry on full-time jobs during the fall and spring, and then just join us for these 3 very special summer sessions. There they are, 1, 2, 3. So there's a first summer, a second summer, and a third summer to our comics program. We're going to talk a little bit about what to expect in each of those summers, but there's often one misconception. Even our students in the program, and sometimes our faculty, and even sometimes I do this, is because you come out for 3 consecutive summers, in 3 different years, we start thinking, oh, it's a 3-year program. It's not. It's 3 summer sessions with fall spring semesters sandwiched in between, and it's 2 years and 1 month long. And it's really an ideal amount of time for someone who's been dreaming about making comics, but seems to be lacking a community or a support structure or some of the direct instruction and like the skills that one needs to make great comics. It's the perfect amount of time to dive in, commit to the work, and get a really great project underway and sometimes completely finished. So there's a lot we can talk about tonight. I think one thing we really want to talk about is curriculum. Like, what do you do in a comics program? When I first was pitching the program, when CCA invited us to give this idea of what it could be like to study comics at the graduate level, I was a little nervous. I wasn't quite sure even what to say. My wife is very smart, though. She said, get out a yellow legal pad, a notepad, and start writing down all the things that you wished someone had helped you with when you were starting out trying to make comics. And so I wrote down a few things. And before I knew it, I had a couple pages. And then I talked to some friends, some colleagues. I was like, what do you wish someone had helped you with? And before we knew it, we had this whole list of things that we wanted to put into a comics curriculum. And we teach these in 3 ways, really. So first of all, we have seminars. So a seminar, a comic seminar, is where you attend class and you study the form. This could be looking at it like literature. It could be taking a close examination of how the mechanics of the page work. One of these seminars is taught by a comics historian, Justin Hall. I'll mention him later. This is a picture of John Jennings working with his 2nd year seminar. This particular seminar focuses on underrepresented voices in comics. We value diversity throughout the curriculum. In each one of our classes, we look at our syllabi and we say, okay, how do we make sure that all kinds of authors and cartoonists are properly represented? But on top of that, we add another layer, and so that's this course right here. And what's really special about, I remember when I snapped this photo, John Jennings, the instructor, had just gotten the proofs from his adaptation of the novel Kindred, which went on to win an Eisner. But here, these arrived that day, and the students are gathered around, and he was talking about his process. And so when we talk about comics courses, they're all taught by working cartoonists. And while they bring their own expertise and their own different topics they want to talk about, they also are always talking about their own personal practice. We also have studios. So this is a comics studio. It's one where students are working on the actual craft of comics. During our first summer session, even though so many of our students work digitally now, we kind of put the iPads and the Cintiqs and the laptops away for a little bit and really get our hands dirty. We have an inking studio. We're always working on different elements of tools and techniques during that time. This is actually a photo taken in our writer studio, which is the home base for our program here at CCA. In the studios, they're often very collaborative. Our students work together on projects and try to create right there on the spot. Having a really cohesive, exciting cohort is something that's very important to us. And we really study every aspect of comics, from scripting and outlining to thumbnailing, which some of you may not be familiar, but if you think about animation and how you may have seen storyboards created before they go and they animate everything, we do that too in comics, and that's called thumbnails. So they're these sort of loose drawings that we learn to make before we make our final comics. Last thing we do every day are workshops. So workshops is where you have to be brave because what we ask all of our students to do is to put their work up on the walls and then have everybody sort of dive in and talk about their work. I mean, that's what we come here for. It really is to get our work in front of a small group of people who allow us to try things out, to experiment, to play. This is one of our students, Cordelia, who graduated a couple summers ago. They're presenting some work, and we may be like, that's amazing, that's perfect over on that part of that page, but what's going on over here? And then we all work collectively to try to help each other and fix storytelling issues. When we think of art critique, I think sometimes there can be sort of a misconception that it's all about just like tearing each other down or trying to really kind of bash each other's work. That is the opposite of what we do here. What we really do is we think of ourselves as a team. And actually, a metaphor we sometimes use is you are the captain of a ship, and your art and your project is the ship, and we're your crew. And we will holler at you, say, hey, this is great, you're going the right way. Or we may say, hey, look out, there's an iceberg. And then it's your choice to follow our advice or not. Sometimes we'll have artists who are like, oh, no, I'm trying to run into that iceberg. And we're like, great, cool. The idea is, though, that we're working together collectively on these things. There's me teaching one of these workshops a while back when I had a little bit more hair. But the summer sessions are a lot of fun. They're 4 weeks long. Students are in class from Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 7 at night. There's a 3-hour seminar in the morning. There's a 3-hour studio in the afternoon, and then there's a 3-hour workshop in the evening. So we really try to focus on 3 areas in our program: creativity, craft, and career. And the creativity part is, when we have a student come in and we see their style, the last thing we want to do is try to change the style of comics that they want to make. We don't tell people, hey, you should make this kind of comic or make comics this way. What we really want to do is capture that creativity, reinforce it, and allow people to find their own voice in comics. At the same time, though, when students are dreaming up what they want their comics to look like, there's still some skills, some craft involved. And so we have classes on digital tools and how to hold a brush with ink and put the perfect line on the page, the line that you were imagining in your head. How do you make that on the page? And that's craft, and we spend a lot of time on that. But when it's all said and done, one of the reasons to go to grad school is also it's the first step in an artistic career for a lot of people. So we do spend a lot of time talking about professional practice issues. And so here, let me just kind of touch on some of the things in addition to the seminars and workshops. Our classes produce gallery shows. So by the time someone finishes the program, they can feel confident in approaching a gallery, knowing how to prepare their work. All of our students install a gallery show. Same thing for self-publishing. It's great to find a publisher to publish your work. It's fantastic, and that is a goal for so many of our students. But the economics of comics have changed a lot, and things like Kickstarter sometimes offer an even more profitable and direct way to get your comics to your audience. So we really dive into self-publishing, actually how to print, how to pick out the right paper to create your comics. And that comes down to digital tools a lot too. So Alan Pasalaco, for instance, is our digital tools instructor. And his day job is coloring Batman and the Justice League and Valiant comics. But when he comes here, he looks at all the different kinds of projects that our students are making, everything from memoir to historic fiction, and he empowers those students to be able to use digital tools to bring their projects wherever it is that they imagine that they're going to go. Then there's pedagogy. So I saw this word years ago. I didn't know what it meant, and I realized it's what I do. I study teaching. I love teaching, and someone's like, "Oh, pedagogy. That's the study of teaching." I'm like, "Oh, that's what my whole life is." So let me tell you a little bit more about myself. So before I came to California to teach comics at CCA, my undergraduate degree actually wasn't at an art school. I went to school to become a teacher. I actually got a degree in education, and I came out of college and I taught 8th grade. I was an 8th grade public school teacher for years. I taught reading, writing, U.S. history. But during the summers, I dreamt of making comics. I love teaching middle school, don't get me wrong. It wasn't like I was just, oh, I can't wait till summer. But when I got to the summers, I would try to write and draw, and I would show it to my friends. And this was a little bit pre-internet, so that's about all the people I could show it to. And I realized eventually I needed a bigger group of people who were interested in telling stories and working on this sort of stuff. And that's when I came to grad school in California. But I can't let go of my love of teaching. Like, as much as I love making comics, as much as I love writing stories, teaching is where my passion is at. So I teach both the first and last class in the curriculum, and the final class is comics pedagogy, where we study how to teach comics. We work really hard on that because by the end of the third summer, in the final week of the third summer, our students teach a comics workshop for high school students. It's a really exciting experience. I have to step back and get out of the way because they take over and teach the workshop. And so that's a really special class. It's a special class too because a lot of our students go on to teach comics. That's one of the really important and viable comics careers. So they teach and they make comics. And last but not least, we have a whole course built around professional practice. And professional practice is meeting agents and editors, talking to retailers and the folks that run all the comics conventions that we go to, and really connecting our students with the comics industry at large. Once you make this brilliant, beautiful thing, and you have the craft to make it a reality, we want to make sure that you have a sustainable career after that as well. So that's curriculum. I'm going to talk a little bit about faculty. I'm in the way of some of the photos here, but that's okay. We have an amazing faculty. This is not all the faculty I'm going to show you. I just want to give you just a few familiar faces that treat our students so well. This is Ed Luce. Ed does a book called Lovable Oaf. I'm going to move this a little bit. Ed's a comics rock star, but he's one of our one-on-one mentors. We have one-on-one mentoring throughout the program, so every other week you meet with your one-on-one mentor and go over your work. It's really personalized. It's really important that we keep it that way. Ed also teaches the class of the gallery installation. That's Nicole Georges. Nicole Georges is an award-winning comics memoirist and teaches our first-year workshop. She's fabulous. There's some of her work. This is Justin Hall. Hi, Justin. Justin is a Eisner-nominated comics historian, an award-winning cartoonist, and he's one of our one-on-one mentors. He's actually finishing up a documentary based on his book No Straight Lines about the history of queer comics. Amazing person to have in the program. This is John Jennings. We saw him earlier. He's won Eisners in the last 2 years, both for his scholarly work on comics and for his comics work. And he comes out and joins us every summer. And there's the cover of his Kindred adaptation. This is Nidhi Chinani. Nidhi started teaching with us last year. Nidhi's fabulous. Nidhi is an Indian American cartoonist whose book Pashmina came out this year and has just been an inspiration to young adult readers. This is Joyce Rice. Joyce is fantastic. Joyce teaches our digital comics course. that happens in the final summer. And Nomi Kane just joined us last year. Nomi's a New Yorker cartoonist and is really interested in comic strips as a form, which we try to embrace every kind of comics. So this is a really great addition to our faculty. And we even have guest speakers. So every summer we have this amazing guest speaker series. It's called Comics in the City. We've had cartoonists from all over the United States and all over the world join us. Every Friday night, we get the cartoonist and one of our faculty on stage in Timken Hall, our theater here. And it's sort of like inside the actor studio for cartoonists. And we get to have a deep dive into their lives as a cartoonist, as an artist, where they came from, how they got to where they are. We have tons of opportunities to ask questions, and then we have a reception with them afterwards. So there's time just to get to know them personally. This last summer, J.H. Williams came out. Julia Wirtz was here last summer. But it's really an all-star lineup. Now that's kind of our big feature on every Friday. But during the summer session, you could just walk into any one of our classes, and there's probably a guest coming in that day. We have guests come in all the time because the Bay Area has such an amazing, rich comics community that we just we call up like Hall of Fame cartoonist Trina Robbins. We're like, hey, you want to come by and talk? She's like, I'll be there. So that's really one of the strong points of our program. We really connect our students with people throughout the industry who have all kinds of different experiences. Oh, and you'll notice over here it says graduate comics reading. The final event every summer is really one of the best nights of the year for me. It's it is the best night of the year for me. It's when our students who are about to graduate take the stage, perform their comics. It's fun, it's exciting, it's their graduation night, and we have a huge bash at the end. We're so proud of the students who come through our program and are finishing up. So one of the other things that we do, fests and expos, anybody who loves comics knows about Comic-Cons. Everywhere you go across the United States, any city, there's a comics festival, a comics expo, or a Comic-Con, and we go to them. We love traveling. So one of the things that we do as a program is we get tables at these various conventions, and then our students travel to those conventions, and we all sell our comics together. We don't wait till students are out. We make mini comics, which are like comic zines, and we show up, we have a great time, and it's a great way to get to know different people from across the industry. This is also a nice way for us to connect with our students during the fall and spring semesters who live all over the United States. We always see our students in Cartoon Crossroads or up in Seattle. So if there's a Comic-Con near you and you're in our program, we're going to try to come by and see you. We also launched a travel grant last year that helps students go to additional shows all over the United States. Because part of being a cartoonist is getting out there and meeting your audience in person. It's the best way to sell your work. It's the most fun way to sell your work. It's how all of the faculty got started. And it's a really special part of our program. And you can see here, our cartoonists are happy. I know there's there used to be this stereotype of a cartoonist being this miserable person who just stays inside all day and makes comics. And one of the things that this program does is it creates community for everyone. And so our cartoonists at these events and throughout the year get together. Often they'll invite each other to their tables throughout the United States and really just have a great time. Comics are a lot of work, and they should be fun. It shouldn't be drudgery. You're making art. It's hard work, takes concentration, takes a lot of care, but it should also be fun. So this is our cohorts last summer. There's a lot of them. But let's talk about numbers for a second, because when you're thinking about graduate school, I think it's really important to consider how many people are in my class, how much attention am I going to get. So this is everyone that comes out during the summer. So this is 3 cohorts. This is the group that is coming to visit for the very first summer. They're just joining us. These are all the students who are returning for the halfway point for the second summer, and the students who are just finishing up the program for the third summer. We average about 12 students per cohort. We think that's sort of the ideal size. Sometimes we have a couple more, a couple less, depending on the year. But 12 students allows your cohort to be lively, to have all kinds of personalities, to have really in-depth conversations. But at the same time, during the fall and the spring, we only assign 6 students to each of our mentors. So each mentor really can concentrate on that one-on-one attention. So we have a huge fun group every summer, but at the same time, we make sure everybody really, really gets that very personal attention you need when you're working on something that's so important to you. So let's talk about alumni. So what do you do with a comics degree? That's a great question. My mom laughed when she first heard that we're launching this. She's like, is that a real thing? And I said, yes. She's like, well, that sounds like fun, but what do you do with it? So this is the answer for all the moms out there to help make you feel better when you know that the person who you care most about in the world is about to travel to California, San Francisco, to make comics. So this is Sam Satin. Sam came in as a writer, didn't have very much art experience. And one of the things that we ask our students to do is we ask them to do everything. We ask them to learn to write, draw, letter. We ask them to try everything at least because we think it makes you better at whatever you want to do. So Sam wanted to write comics. He came in and he learned how to do all the art. And now he exclusively writes comics, but he writes comics for other artists. He has a brand new book coming out here called Glint in the new year. And really popular, great guy, and gosh, it seems like every couple months he's announcing a new book. This is Maya Kobabe. Maya's publishing a memoir in the new year with Lionforge. We're thrilled about Maya's book. The book is called Genderqueer, and I want you to keep an eye out for it because I think this is going to be one of the most important books to come out next year or the years to come. I've seen parts of it. It's moving. It's beautifully illustrated. And we're really proud of Maya's work on that. This is Ashley. Ashley makes comics. Ashley makes comics for online websites, short comics for articles. But her day job is a storyboard artist. So for Hollywood films, they'll have an artist kind of draw the scene before they spend all this money trying to film it. Those drawings are used to make sure the story is just right before they call action. And Ashley does that. Ashley's worked on the new Mutants film, the new X-Men film. She's working on another film I don't know if we're allowed to say yet, but she's working hard on it, and we can't wait to see the trailer for it. So we're really proud of Ashley. This is Cordelia. So Cordelia still makes comics, but Cordelia's day job is in the tech industry, and Cordelia works with accessibility and technology. But one of the reasons that Cordelia is so in demand to give talks all around the world is because her talks contain comics. Her talks always have slideshows that use comics to explain complicated concepts, and that use of the comics skill really enhances her ability to communicate with audiences around the world. This is Trinidad Escobar. I mentioned teaching. Trinidad teaches a class called Race and Comics right here at CCA. Trinidad is one of our several instructors several students who graduated and gone on to teach college. And we have students who've gone on to teach little kids too. This is Meggie Ram. Meggie did the art for this section, and Meggie teaches small children every day. It's a lot of fun, and comics are a great way to get kids involved with reading and creativity, and we're really excited about their work. So with the last few minutes we have today, I thought I'd just talk about some of the student work, and it can be kind of a bridge to talk about some of the other parts of the program. Remember when I said there's no house style here? And what I mean by that is, sometimes someone will come and say, I want to draw Spider-Man for Marvel. We're like, awesome, we can help you do that. But more often than not, we have a student who comes and says, I want to tell this story, this personal story, or this science fiction story I've been dreaming about, or this fantasy, or I want to do comics journalism. And that's what we embrace here. We embrace all the different styles that show up in comics. So, for instance, Meggie. This is some of Meggie Ram's art here. I always say that all you need to make comics is stick figures. You can make stick figure comics that make someone laugh and cry, and Meggie really takes that to heart. So Meggie makes fantastic comics for young adults and adults that have stick figures. They're bright, they're colorful, they're full of life. This is exactly the kind of comics that we get excited about. But that doesn't mean this is the only kind of comics we want people to make. These are the kind of comics that Meggie wants to make. So we threw all of our energy into helping Meggie get the skills to make these sort of comics. And so you start to see the variety. Here, these are from Tris Bain. So Tris works digitally and uses these incredible digital brushes to create fantasy series that are lush and full of colors and full of depth. I love this shot here with all the little details and all the color work. And so Tris had been dreaming of this world for years, and we helped her bring it together. Completely different than that. Eli Bishop is making comics about the medical industry and the lives of nurses, and he uses this wonderful pencil style. No ink on these pages. It just has that. You can see Eli's hand on the page. And now, did Eli start making comics that looked exactly like this when he got here? No, this is something that he worked on and developed towards throughout the program. We actually ask our students to experiment a lot early on to try to find what it is that they really want to strive for by the time they're working on their thesis work. Here's more of Eli's work. I love it. I'm also all the students' biggest fan, so if I'm geeking out over our student work, it's because the faculty are just smitten with their creativity, their enthusiasm, the way that they form a community and help each other. I mean, here's work by Bex. So Bex was an undergrad at CCA and then came back to be part of the graduate comics program. And Bex was an individualized major at CCA. So Bex would use photography and sculpture and oil paintings. And you can see that reflected in her work. Her work has a level of detail that's really not always seen in comics. And so that's something that we really enjoy and embrace. Here's Amber Padilla. Amber is making comics for young adults. This is a terrific book. I can't wait to see this fully in print. She has a style that kind of combines sort of modern young adult comics, the kinds you would see maybe by someone like Raina Telgemeier, with some visuals from manga. So many of our students have been inspired by manga, and it kind of creates this perfect combination that really excites the readers. David Kelly uses watercolor. We've done some little workshops with watercolor, online workshops with our students, but materials, we love our students to explore, try different things. David's watercolor comics just pop off the page. They're full of life. I absolutely love them. Yael takes everything and puts it on the comics page. Photographs, pencil drawings, ink, scraps of paper. We really love this sort of experimentation. And here's Daryl, who's doing kind of sci-fi fantasy set in a future Oakland. We absolutely love all of this work. Fuad, looks like you could pick this up right out of Dark Horse Comics. The style is so clean and beautiful. It's just pops off the page. So this is our program. We have students who come in from all over the world. They join us for each of the summers. You can see behind me right now, this is sort of a collage of our students' publications and their comics. We have about 40 students who have graduated from the program now. We're inviting our 7th cohort this fall. We hope that you're one of them. If you have questions about the program, do not hesitate to contact me at cca.edu. Find me, email me. I'm happy to talk about the ins and outs of the program. The application process is there. Financial aid information is there. But let's talk about some important deadlines. January 10th. We want you to turn in your portfolio and your application by then, because that's our priority deadline, and every single student who submits their application by January 10th is eligible for scholarships. So we look at all the portfolios and we award scholarships. Scholarship information is available online. We do have students who apply after January 10th. Some of our very most successful students have been late applicants, so that's totally okay. We have rolling applications, but there's no reason to miss out on those financial aid opportunities. So you do that. Also, fill out your FAFSA form. If you're thinking about going to graduate school, make sure you do that, because once you've done that, that will allow our wonderful financial aid staff to put together a tuition package for you, and you'll see the final numbers for what it could cost to go to CCA. Beyond that, we've got some exciting things coming up in the new year, we're going to be at the Black Comics Arts Festival. As we say, we travel all the time. This one's close to home at Yerba Buena. We're going to be doing a pop-up comics fest here on campus. You're always welcome to visit campus. I love giving personal campus tours. And then our summer session begins on July 8th, 2019. That's when we'll have our 2 cohorts returning, and we'll have our brand new cohort coming to campus. So with that, how are we doing on time? We good? Great. So it was wonderful talking to everybody. Hopefully you'll have a chance to get in touch with me if you have more questions. And thank you so much for learning about the MFA in Comics program tonight. What's that? Say what?
There were no questions, but people said hi. So do you want to shout out and say hi?
Oh, we're still on. Yeah. Hi. Who said hi? We're going to find out. I want to say hi to people.
J.M. Hunter.
Excellent. Hi. Good to see you. I think James applying.
Yeah, he said, what's the day we're expected to be in town?
Oh, so the question from J.M., who we're so excited is applying to the program. The day to be in town will be July 4th is the 4th of July. The 4th of July is the move-in date because we have on-campus housing for everybody from out of town because July 5th is an orientation day, and then everybody comes back on July 8th for the first day of class. Great question.
Let's see. We have some more highs from Laura. There's some other people. Melissa, Philly.
Yes, Melissa. Melissa's applying too. Sorry. This is so exciting because I've been, throughout the fall, I get to meet people and I get to sort of start getting to know them as they're considering applying. And so that's one of my favorite parts of the year. So, hi, Melissa.
Let's see, Pete Glanting also said hi.
Pete Glanting is so awesome. And everybody should go to Pete's website and read Tomorrow Jerks and Delicate Creatures. Pete is a fantastic cartoonist and one of our alums. And I got to see Pete recently in Seattle when we traveled there, and I miss Pete all the time.
And then JM also asked, will the financial aid package also assist with airfare?
The financial aid package does not help with travel costs. That would be fabulous if it did, but it doesn't. But our financial aid staff is fabulous. Is it financialaid at CCA?
Finaid.cca. Finaid at CCA.
Finaid at CCA.edu. And go to the financial aid part of CCA's website and just go ahead and contact them directly. They get back to everybody really quickly, and they're really good about explaining all the ins and outs of the process. But good question.
Cool. I don't think we have any other questions.
Okay, fantastic. So with that, we're going to sign off. And hopefully we'll see you here during the summer session soon. Bye. Oh, gonna.